Hey there, I'm Kevin Downey, and I run a boutique agency called Kevin M. Downey, where we help B2B companies with their sales and marketing efforts. You can visit our website at kevinmdowney.com. All right, today's topic, this is a tough one, B2B cold email. To drive inbound leads, should you be running your emails through your Google Workspace? You could also replace Microsoft 365 there. Email APIs, right, which you may have connection with through your CRM. You may not. You may need to find a new system to do that. Or should you be running your own SMTP email server structure? So this is a complex question to answer because it depends on so many different factors for you as a company and your level of expertise and your staff in your company. So let's assume you are not outsourcing to anyone, that you are going to manage all of this within your company. Google Workspace, Microsoft 365, they connect to all the CRMs from ZoomInfo, I think HubSpot, Salesforce, all of them, right? Have data, Apollo, you can do that, right? And you're going to have the easiest time connecting them. It's going to work flawlessly. The replies are going to come back through to those email addresses. The biggest challenge, can't run the volume, right? If you're running them through those systems, per box, per email address, you're only going to run, in theory, 250 a day. Now, I know that those systems platforms say that you can send a lot more than that, but in our experience and our clients' experience, they rarely ever get above 250 a day before they run into a problem with those accounts. So the downside is going to be pure volume. The upside, easy to use, easy to set up, easy to use, right? Email APIs. A little bit more complex to set up, but you can run the volume if you're careful, and you can be very, very effective. And you have a couple of options there. You can do shared IP addresses and you can do dedicated IP addresses. For companies that are going to try to do it themselves, unless you really know what you're doing, I would recommend that you do shared IPs. It's easier to manage. You don't have to change things. If you run into a problem with a dedicated IP, then you need to change it. You have to warm it up. Like, there's a lot of things that go into that. So with the email APIs, do shared IPs. It does allow you to send the volume, but you got to make sure you get your deliverability stays really, really high. So you're going to want to run that reputation management to help offset your cold emails. So in other words, if you're running reputation management at 60,000, like we do, per month on a domain and an email address, and you're running cold emails, let's say max 90,000, you got a 1.5 to 1 ratio, that's an acceptable number, and that's about the limit. If you try to go past that, you can run into problems because you could have too much of a bounce rate, defers, blocks, things that are going to make everything go bad. Then you can't use the email API anymore. And so there, you got to know what you're doing and you got to be careful. Okay, best solution, lowest cost solution, not counting Google Workspace, I guess, and Microsoft 365, where you can send volume, your own server structure. You can send almost unlimited volume. If you're running reputation management combined with your cold emails, you can really control your numbers and your metrics. You can keep everybody happy on the ISP side. You can keep the receiving party systems happy. You can do a lot more control. You control your IP addresses a lot better, kind of like if you do dedicated IPs on email APIs, and your cost is next to nothing, right? To run a server at cost like ours, I think it's $28, $29 a month. And we send through some email API and we send some through server because we're always testing and everything. Server, definitely the best bang for your buck, the most power. Downside, really, really hard to set up correctly and manage. So you got to have the right person in your company to set up and manage that, which means they're going to be someone that's already familiar with base server structure and has experience with setting email and server structure. Whatever VPS you set up, it could be, it could be Contabo, it could be DigitalOcean, it could be, Namecheap, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. There's a million of them out there. They got to know how to use those things. They got to know how to set them up. They've got to know how to connect those to your reputation management system, like Warmy we use. You've got to know how to then do the DNS settings in your domain, and I forgot to mention with the email APIs, you have to know how to do DNS settings really well, and SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. But all that aside, When you do your own server structure, SMTP email server, you've got to know how to do all of that. You got to have the person in-house to do that. And then you have to know how to manage those things and watch them and measure them. Because if you run into a problem, you've got to have backup server available with IPs on that backup server in case you get into trouble with your primary. So you've got to run a couple of servers at one time, but even at $60 a month, it's a no-brainer, right? It's the lowest cost way to do all of this, and deliverability actually can be better than using the email APIs or even your Google Workspace or Microsoft 365 accounts. But again, it's really hard to manage. It's hard to run well. You got to have the right professional doing it, right? So anyway, hopefully that answers your question. If you have any questions, reach out to us, kevinmdowney.com, and certainly we'll look forward to chatting with you next time, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.